Beyond the Gates spoilers for next week, June 16th to 20th, tease that a quiet dawn settles over the sprawling Richardson estate, its manicured lawns and ivy-clad terraces whispering of secrets long buried beneath polished facades. Before the sun's amber rays fully crest the horizon, an electric tension crackles through Ashley Morgan's bedroom. She stirs under the silken covers, still half adrift in a dream of moonlit strolls and whispered confidences. Then, with a jolt that snaps her wide awake, she finds Andre Richardson's broad frame looming over Hera's smoldering silhouette against the gauzy morning light. His chest, bare and taut with the glow of recent exertion, gleams with a sheen of perspiration as he balances on the edge of her mattress. Ashley's lips part in a soft murmur, "Wake up, sleepyhead," but the words falter on her tongue as confusion warps into horror. The initial moments quiver with unspoken questions. Why is Andre here? What dreadful prank or reckoning has brought him into this sanctuary of vulnerability? The camera, rather, our mind's eye hovers on Ashley's wide, disbelieving gaze as layers of shock cascade across her features, each one begging for answers she cannot yet comprehend. He speaks, voice low and teasing. "Thought I'd start your week with a little surprise." That teasing inflection, once so familiar and warm, now slices through the charged atmosphere like a blade. Ashley's heart thrums in her throat as the unspoken truth claws its way from shadow to light, a truth that will shatter conventions and push every boundary she has ever known. Their shared history, punctuated by stolen glances and laughter echoing down sunlit halls, has always skirted the edges of propriety, yet this moment feels irrevocably different. Andre's boldness defies every protocol ingrained in her. He is family, a figure she has looked up to, perhaps even confided in, and now he stands bare before her in the most intimate of circumstances. The air pulses with a charge so potent it seems to hum against her skin. Ashley's first impulse is to recoil, to slam the door on the trespass and retreat to the safety of denial. But as Andre's gaze softens, revealing behind the shock a silent plea for understanding, Ashley senses a fragile vulnerability that mirrors her own. In that split second, the stakes crystallize. Are they enmeshed in a tragic misunderstanding, or has a boundary been irrevocably crossed, forging a bond neither can erase? While the house still reverberates with the echoes of that morning's revelation, the grand drawing room becomes an altogether different stage of scandal. A hush falls over the assembled family and friends as the lights dim and a giant screen flickers to life. The subtle murmur of anticipation ripples through the crowd tonight. A shocking clip will be unveiled. As the projector whirs, Danny Dupree's pulse rattles her ribs like a war drum. She perches on the edge of her seat, fingers clutching the velvet cushion until her knuckles blanch. The image on screen is unmistakable. She and Andre, entangled in a clandestine embrace that defies every moral line etched into her consciousness. Gasps ripple outward as the audience processes the implications, some in amused disbelief, others in outraged condemnation. Then, Danny's voice cracks across the silence, a staccato question that hangs in the charged air. "Are you telling me that my daughter and niece know about us?" Her words, raw with indignation and betrayal, reverberate through the chamber like shouts in a ruin. Even before the clip fades, the gravity of exposure settles in. The lie that Danny and Andre have spun for weeks off affectionate family dinners and tutored smiles now lies in ruins, laid bare for everyone's prying eyes. Upstairs, Chelsea and Catherine Richardson exchange stunned glances. Chelsea's composure, built on a lifetime of navigating high society alliances, fractures at the edges. She staggers from her seat, cheeks aflame, as half-whispered gasps follow her across the polished marble floor. Meanwhile, on the terrace beyond, a whirlwind of chaos sweeps Danny toward her guest house, where she hopes to confront Andre away from the accusatory crowd. But Destinier's scandal will not be denied privacy. Chelsea and Kat find him first, in the corridor where sunlight pools like molten gold. Catherine's expression is a mask of thinly veiled triumph. She crosses her arms, a silent spectator enthralled by the silent storm brewing between Danny and Andre. The air crackles as Danny's eyes bore into Andre's, searching for a justification that might salvage her pride and quell the rising tide of shame. In the corners of this gathering, Bill Hamilton sits across from Haley, his wife's gentle hand brushing against his arm. Haley's dark eyes, usually so tender, narrow with concern as she takes in the stoic mask that has settled across Bill's face. His silence is a chasm between them. She asks softly, "Bill, what's happening?" But before his lips can part, the scene shifts abruptly to Bill's hushed tones, filtered through the scope of a phone call. He paces beneath the oak-paneled walls of a shadowed study, voice clipped and urgent as he demands a comprehensive life insurance contract. "I need it in place by day's end," he insists, each word measured, betraying a tension that suggests more than mere financial caution. Haley, peering from the doorway, feels the gravity of his request. Bill's health record, immaculate until now, offers no hint of sudden decline, and yet here he is, urgency dripping from every syllable. Does he suspect danger? Is there a hidden peril stalking his life that only he knows? Haley's heart clenches with a dawning terror, fearing that Bill's steely resolve masks a secret far more dire than monetary security. While whispers of insurance policies and impending doom swirl through the Hamilton wing, another drama unfolds under softer lights, the burgeoning romance between Chelsea Hamilton and Dr. Madison Montgomery. They meet in the Rose Garden, where twilight drapes the world in lavender hues. Madison's laughter, light and crystalline, ripples through the perfumed air as she recounts an anecdote about an eccentric patient. Chelsea's response is a slow, delighted smile that warms Madison's cheeks. The two share a candlelit dinner by a trickling fountain, its soft burble a gentle counterpoint to the thrill in their glances. Madison's invitation to Chelsea's home for an intimate gathering had been casual, but Chelsea senses the deliberate undercurrent in each suggestion. As they sit side by side on Madison's plush love seat, their shoulders brushing, Chelsea feels an unfamiliar flutter in her chest, desire, whispered and delicate. Their conversation weaves between levity and confession, Madison's tales of medical triumphs, entwined with moments of vulnerability, and Chelsea's recollections of her own trials, laughter laced with introspection. The spark ignites fully when their eyes meet across a shared plate of berries, lips curve upward in mutual apology before they lean in, breath mingling, and their first kiss blooms like a firework in the night sky. The camera, ever voyeuristic, lingers on the hesitation in Chelsea's parted lips and the confident grace in Madison's guiding hand, raising a silent question: will they cross the threshold of mere affection into something more profound? No corner of the estate remains untouched by mystery. Beyond the manicured hedges and dancing flames of garden torches, Martin Richardson strides through the servants' quarters with an urgency that transforms his usual affable mien into something fierce and unyielding. He spots the mysterious man, the same figure glimpsed in last week's flashback, a lean silhouette in a waiter's uniform, circulating among the staff at the country club event. Now, in these dimly lit back halls, Martin corners him. The servant's face, stony at first, flickers with recognition when Martin's fist collides with the wall inches from his ear. "Who are you?" Martin demands, voice low and dangerous, each word punctuated by his heartbeat. The man shifts, lips curling into a thin smile. "Your money's color," he murmurs, echoing the cryptic refrain that has haunted Martin's nightmares and fueled every paranoid suspicion since his secret first took root. It is the same whisper that his own memory tortured him with, an accusation of motive, stain, and greed. Martin's vision blurs with fury and fear. He grips the man's collar and shakes him, jarring the answer from his lips like a confession. Meanwhile, Vernon Dupree, drawn by the scuffle, slips into the corridor and raises his phone to his ear. His voice is a rasping whisper. He's back. 3 words, yet their resonance reverberates through the blood in his veins. That foresee so simple, yet so loaded evokes every conspiracy Vernon has harbored since Martin's erratic behavior first erupted into public view. The line between ally and adversary fractures in Vernon's mind as he watches Martin loom over the subdued servant, adrenaline fueling his righteous indignation. Vernon's own loyalties twist and turn in the half-light of that moment. Does he stand with Martin, brother by oath, or does he heed the darker truth lurking behind the servant's taunt? All the while, Nicole Richardson stands at the threshold of a different crucible. She grips a sealed envelope, its contents heavy with implication. In the hushed corridor of Ted Richardson's office, she pauses, heart hammering against the fragile shell of her resolve. The polished brass nameplate on the door gleams in the soft lamplight. CEO, patriarch, arbiter of Richardson's fate. Nicole inhales, her breath catching on the weight of unspoken words. Then she knocks, steel replacing tremor in her knuckles. Ted's familiar silhouette appears behind the frosted glass, and Nicole steps forward, lifting the envelope with an imperious tilt of her chin. "I need to do this," she announces, voice steady. Ted's gaze, once warm with familial pride, shifts to something more inscrutable as he replies, "Then let's do it." The implication hangs between them like charged mercury, divorce papers, final and irrevocable, that will sever bonds legally as surely as they have already been fractured emotionally. Nicole's hand trembles only slightly as she meets Ted's eyes. Neither speaks of the years they've shared, the promises whispered in youthful hope, now crumpled into legalese. Instead, they commit to this act, this dissolution of a union that once stood as a bastion against life's storms. By noon, the estate is transformed into a stage of ruptured alliances and clandestine desires. Every corridor echoes with the footfalls of characters whose motivations swirl like autumn leaves in a gale. Ashley's shock lingers in the hush of emptied rooms, Danny's humiliation simmers in every sideways glance, Bill's urgent plans shadow the laughter in the ballroom, Chelsea and Madison's fledgling passion flickers in candlelight. Martin's confrontation reverberates in the servants' stunned silence. Vernon's whispered warning hangs like a specter. Nicole's final act pulses with the promise of irrevocable change. Each thread, spun from the same loom of privilege and deception, weaves a tapestry of intrigue that will take days, perhaps weeks, to unravel. And yet, even as these dramas ignite throughout the Richardson domain, the air tastes of anticipation. For every secret unveiled sparks a dozen more beneath the surface, each one more combustible than the last. As the estate hums with the undercurrent of untold truths, one certainty remains. When the gates of family fortune and hidden desire stand ajar, no one emerges unscathed. The first traces of dawn on June 16th find Ashley Morgan pacing the length of the mahogany-paneled library, her heart still an erratic metronome from the previous morning's intrusion. That raw shock has given way to a bruising blend of anger, betrayal, and a desperate need for clarity. Every creak of the floorboards seems to echo Andre Richardson's smirk, looping her horror into an unending film reel. Yet as she steels herself to confront him, it's not the outrage she expected that greets her, but a boyish apology laced with the ache of misunderstood devotion. He swears he meant no harm, that a dare among siblings took a twisted turn, and that he never intended to humiliate her. His voice, low and earnest, paints a portrait of vulnerability, so incongruous with the image she saw that she falters. The question hangs between them, heavy as wet silk. Can trust be rebuilt when the lines between affection and violation have blurred so irrevocably? Andre's admission that he believed Ashley longed for the same reckless intimacy he felt stings like salt rubbed into an open wound. He confesses his desire has festered in secret for months, fed by stolen moments and suppressed glances. In that moment of confession, Ashley senses a crossroads. Will she condemn him as the family monster, or will she, amid the ruins of propriety, find a path to forgiveness born of their shared history? As tension coils in the Morgan wing, Danny Dupree's world spirals into a grander theater of outrage. Word spreads through the household that her daughter, Lila, and niece, Maya, witnessed the scandalous footage and worse, laughed at its absurdity. Danny storms into the opulent sitting room where Lila sits hunched over her phone, tears glinting on her cheeks not from shame but from fury. "You thought it was funny?" Danny hisses, voice slicing through the heavy drapes. Lila's retort, "You made us see you like this," knocks the breath from Danny's lungs, leaving her reeling. Their relationship, once defined by open-hearted camaraderie, fractures under the weight of generational divides. Maya's entrance, arms crossed and gaze icily detached, feels like the final blow. She accuses Danny of hypocrisy, of preaching about family values while secretly chasing forbidden liaisons. Danny's regal composure cracks. She rants in a torrent of justifications, invoking sacrifices no one asked for and pleading that love, in any form, deserves mercy. But mercy is in short supply. As Danny realizes her daughter and niece can no longer see her as the dignified matriarch she once was, she retreats to the drawing room to compose a letter of resignation from the family foundation she helped build, a symbolic act that promises to redefine her identity outside the gilded cage of Richardson Dupree etiquette. Meanwhile, Bill Hamilton's clandestine quest for a life insurance policy accelerates into the realm of life-or-death stakes. Beneath the estate, in a hidden network of corridors once used by wartime servants, Bill meets with Dr. Amelia Chin, a specialist in rare neurodegenerative diseases. His measured urgency unfolds into a confession. He has begun losing fine motor control in his right hand, and phantom tremors have haunted his nights. Dr. Chen's examination reveals ominous signs of early-onset Alzheimer's affliction Bill's family has never faced, yet one that carries grim prognosis. The revelation crashes into Bill's stoic veneer like a sledgehammer. As he grapples with the weight of mortality, Haley stands by his side, her instincts as a journalist driving her to know every detail. Bill's request for the insurance contract was not mere precaution, but a lifeline for her if he should slip beyond reach. In the hush of the subterranean clinic, they vow to fight the disease together. Yet an unspoken fear lurks. Will the insurance company balk at his sudden diagnosis? Haley's resolve coalesces into a plan to leverage her editorial influence for advocacy, turning Bill's private battle into a public crusade for ALS research funding, even as they both cringe at the spotlight. High above the estate, Chelsea Hamilton and Dr. Madison Montgomery's clandestine romance deepens into an intoxicating illusion of escape. Each stolen moment offers sanctuary from the tempest roiling in their families. Madison, ever the consummate professional, guides Chelsea through whispered confidences in her sleek penthouse office, where the city lights glitter like distant promises. Chelsea, in turn, shares stories of childhood summers spent in the country, off daisies, woven into her hair and laughter dancing on warm breezes. Their attraction blossoms with the heady rush of mutual discovery, and soon they find themselves planning a weekend getaway under the guise of a medical conference in Napa Valley. Over candlelit dinners and vineyard strolls, they shed their public facades, revealing raw hopes and fears. Madison's guilt over a malpractice incident that nearly cost a patient's life, Chelsea's lingering grief over a lost fiancé. Yet, even as they entangle further, both sense an undercurrent of danger. Chelsea, torn between loyalty to her high society circle and the siren call of authentic connection, begins to question whether a life lived in shadows can ever be sustainable. And Madison, acutely aware that one misstep could shatter her career, wrestles with the moral tightrope between heart and reputation. In the shadowy corridors of power, Martin Richardson's vendetta against the cryptic waiter spirals into a deadly game of cat and mouse. After the man's taunt, "Your money's color," Martin unearths surveillance tapes from the country club's security archive. Frame by frame, he deciphers the uniformed stranger's clandestine meetings with a hooded figure who occasionally murmurs orders through a concealed earpiece. Martin shares his findings with Vernon Dupree, who listens with ice in his veins. Together, they piece together a conspiracy that implicates a consortium of rival magnates scheming to dismantle the Richardson empire. The waiter, they discover, serves as courier for confidential files, financial ledgers, blackmail material, destabilizing rumors. Now the question becomes, who hired him? As Martin vows retribution, Vernon cautions restraint, wary that a reckless strike could ignite a broader conflict. Nonetheless, Martin's fury overcomes prudence. He arranges a clandestine meeting in one of the estate's abandoned wine cellars, where torchlight casts monstrous shadows on the stone walls. Unmoved by the man's apologies, Martin demands the identity of his employers. The waiter, lips parted in fear and defiance, whispers three names, the very insiders Martin least expected: a legal executor, a philanthropic trustee, and one of his own cousins. The revelation fractures the fortress of family loyalty, setting the stage for an internal purge that could decimate the dynasty from within. As Martin and Vernon grapple with betrayal at home, Nicole Richardson's divorce from Ted unfurls into a spectacle of legal maneuvering and public curiosity. The envelope Nicole delivered holds not only signed papers, but also a hidden clause stipulating equal division of the famed Richardson art collection, an act of both defiance and pragmatism. Ted, at first taken aback, counters with a demand for primary custody of their joint venture, the Richardson Institute for Environmental Policy. The negotiations devolve into a series of closed-door sessions in the boardroom, each more acrimonious than the last. Nicole, fueled by years of silent resentment, unveils evidence of Ted's clandestine financial support for political candidates she vehemently opposes, framing him as both ideological and financial saboteur. Ted, in turn, unleashes allegations that Nicole mismanaged charitable funds, insinuating that her motives are less about principle and more about vengeance. As word of their feud seeps into the media, the Richardson name becomes synonymous with headline scandals, from barbed op-eds in the Daily Ledger to viral gossip on social platforms. Nicole, ever the strategist, uses the public spectacle to rally supporters, painting herself as a crusader against patriarchal hypocrisy, while Ted retreats into a bunker of loyal retainers to weather the storm. Meanwhile, in the Dupree household, Vernon's whisper, "He's back," resonates with chilling clarity. He tracks down the hooded figure seen in the security footage. Dr. Lydia Bryson, a former family physician who vanished after a malpractice suit years ago. Vernon confronts her in a dimly lit parking garage, her once bright smile now a pale mask of regret and resolve. She admits to orchestrating the blackmail scheme, driven by vengeance for her brother's medical billing scandal, in which a Richardson-funded hospital played a manipulative role. Dr. Bryson's confession ripples through Vernon's loyalty. The man he once idolized as a family benefactor is implicated in healthcare profiteering that cost countless lives. Torn between blood ties and moral outrage, Vernon faces a choice: protect the family name or expose the rot at its core. He records her testimony on a hidden Devisea safeguard against possible denials and disappears into the night, determined to deliver the truth to those who can bring justice. Yet, even as he plots disclosure, he knows that the act will unmoor him from both family and fortune, leaving him adrift in a storm of retribution and redemption. Back in the Morgan wing, Ashley's relationship with Andre spirals into unexpected territory. Rumors swirl that Derek Baldwin, her former fiancé, plans to propose again, emboldened by whispered promises of reconciliation whispered at philanthropic galas. Desperate to reclaim a semblance of normalcy, Ashley considers accepting Derek's overtures, hoping to bury Andre's betrayal in the past. Yet each borrowed smile around Derek's earnest, blue eyes feels hollow, as if a ghost lingers between them. When Derek kneels by the koi pond at the annual summer soiree and presents a ring inscribed with the Morgan family crest, Ashley's hands tremble not with joy, but with the conflicting emotions roiling within her. As she contemplates her answer, Andre watches from the shadows, his expression unreadable. Will she choose stability over the dangerous electricity she once shared with Andre? Or will the embers of their taboo intimacy reignite into something neither can deny? Simultaneously, Danny Dupree undertakes a transformation born of humiliation and self-preservation. She partners with a high-powered crisis management firm to salvage her reputation, orchestrating charitable galas and funding youth mentorship programs. Yet behind the scenes, her fury simmers. She hires a discreet investigator to uncover every shred of blackmail material that could be used against her and Andre, determined to dismantle the power brokers who first publicized the scandalous footage. In clandestine meetings at a downtown speakeasy, Danny negotiates alliances with disillusioned Richardson board members and disavowed socialites. Plans take shape to orchestrate a coup within the Foundation's leadership, a move that would not only cement her autonomy, but also reshape the family's philanthropic legacy and her image. The board's next meeting, scheduled for June 18th, promises fireworks as Danny unveils her reformist agenda alongside meticulously documented evidence of misappropriated funds by her rivals. Whether her gambit will succeed or further fracture the family remains uncertain, but one fact is clear: Danny Dupree will emerge from this crucible transformed, either as a phoenix risen or embittered ashes. As the weekend draws to a close, Chelsea and Madison return from Napa, their affair cloaked in furtive glances and half-lies. Upon arrival, Chelsea finds an anonymous parcel at her doorstep, a vial of potent sedative and a note: "I know what you did." Fear threads through her veins. Madison, sensing the danger, whisks her away to a secure bunker in the city, but the outside world is relentless. Gossip columns already buzz with speculation about Chelsea's medical retreat, and a tabloid promises exposé photos of her and Madison at a private club. The lovers realize they are pawns in a larger game. Someone is targeting them to destabilize both the Hamilton fortune and Madison's medical career. Desperate for answers, they team up with Vernon, whose moral defiance has earned their trust. Together, they map the network of secrets that bind the estate's players. Only by exposing the orchestrators of these intertwined vendettas can they hope to reclaim agency over their lives and loves. On June 20th, under a bruised summer sky, the estate convenes for what was meant to be a weekend reprieve, but has instead become the final act of a family saga. In the grand hall, lit by ornate chandeliers, the key players gather: Ashley, Andre, Derek, Danny, Bill, Haley, Chelsea, Madison, Martin, Vernon, Nicole, and Ted. Each carries their burdens: grief, betrayal, desire, vengeance, knowing that by night's end, alliances will shift irrevocably. As the orchestra strikes up a tense overture, eyes lock in silent calculation. Will the Morrises' whispered pact shatter the Hamiltons' crusade? Can Danny's reformist vision triumph over Ted's counter-move? Will Martin confront his cousin in a duel of honor or entangle Vernon in his vendetta? And at the heart of it all, Ashley stands poised between two men, one offering safety, the other the dangerous promise of truth. The final curtains have yet to fall, but the audientian entire dynasty waits with bated breath. In the space between inhale and exhale, the Richardson estate holds its breath, braced for the reckoning that will decide who survives and who is irrevocably undone.